Hello, I arrived safely in Sydney. So here I am making this video from my friend's place. This is actually the same place where I recorded the first Sunday service. But now I'm sitting on her balcony. It's a pleasant day. It's about 23 degrees Celsius. There's a little bit of a breeze. Hopefully that's not being picked up by the microphone too much. So the way that these videos are structured are that we read a bit of the text. We are starting in the middle in chapter 16. And the reason for that is because it was in chapter 16 that the course references the new year. And I thought that maybe we will embark on the new year together. The course has a lot of new lexicon, a lot of new jargon that, in my experience, has been for some people downright repelling. So my invitation is to just be curious, treat it as a curiosity. Anything that doesn't make sense or doesn't resonate, just put on the shelf for later. Just let the words really wash over you. Then we'll be looking at the next lesson. We're up to lesson 5 in the order of lessons. Just reminding you that the course asks that you don't do more than one lesson a day, but the time that you take is unlimited. So you could do one lesson for the whole year. So the timing is not really an issue. And also there are review periods. So we'll have an opportunity to catch up when the course naturally comes to a review period of the lessons. So we're at lesson 5. And then we'll review some of the principles, 4 of the principles that make up miracles. All right, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at where we are in the text. Okay, so I'm going to click on the Read A Course in Miracles button. We're going to click on text. And so we are up to the bridge to the real world. Okay, so one of the jargon phrases that we're meeting is the concept of a special relationship. And that's in contrast to what the Course calls the holy relationship. And the special relationship is when our happiness is linked to whether our special someone behaves in the way that we like, want, and expect. And then when they don't, then we get disappointed. And so those are the ingredients essentially of a special relationship. And it might not seem strange to you because that's the nature of human relationships. We're used to relating in that way, but the Course is offering another way. Okay, so let's begin with paragraph 1. The search for the special relationship is the sign that you equate yourself with the ego and not with God. For the special relationship has value only to the ego. To the ego, unless a relationship has special value, it has no meaning, for it perceives all love as special. Yet this cannot be natural, for it's unlike the relationship of God and his Son, and all relationships that are unlike this one must be unnatural. For God created love as he would have it be, and he gave it as it is. Love has no meaning except as its creator defined it by his will. It's impossible to define it otherwise and understand it. Paragraph 2. Love is freedom. To look for it by placing yourself in bondage is to separate yourself from it. For the love of God, no longer seek for union in separation, nor for freedom in bondage. As you release, so will you be released. Forget this not, or love will be unable to find you and comfort you. Paragraph 3. There is a way in which the Holy Spirit asks your help, if you would have his. The holy instant is his most helpful aid in protecting you from the attraction of guilt, the real lure in the special relationship. You do not recognize that this is its real appeal, for the ego has taught you that freedom lies in it. Yet the closer you look at the special relationship, the more apparent it becomes that it must foster guilt and therefore must imprison. Paragraph 4. The special relationship is totally meaningless without a body. If you value it, you must also value the body. And what you value you'll keep. The special relationship is a device for limiting yourself to a body and for limiting your perception of others to theirs. The great rays would establish the total lack of value for the special relationship if they were seen. For in seeing them, the body would disappear because its value would be lost. And so your whole investment in seeing it would be withdrawn from it. Okay, so this paragraph is really pointing to the fact that while convincingly the self can be equated to a body, we're being reminded that actually we're not a body, that what we are is energy as great rays. Okay. Paragraph 5. You see the world you value. On this side of the bridge, you see the world of separate bodies seeking to join each other in separate unions and to become one by losing. When two individuals seek to become one, they're trying to decrease their magnitude. Each would deny his power, for the separate union excludes the universe. Far more is left outside than would be taken in, for God is left without, and nothing taken in. If one such union were made in perfect faith, the universe would enter into it. Yet the special relationship the ego seeks does not include even the whole individual. The ego wants part of him and sees only this part and nothing else. And so because the special relationship inherently has conditions, that's what it's referring to when the ego is seeking only to join with one part. It's the part that it likes. It's the part that it makes meaning around, puts a value on. In this paragraph, we're being reminded that if we make the special relationship the most important thing without absolute faith, then there is no entry point for God to be the fuel, to be the source out of which true love can emanate through the union. If one such union were made in perfect faith, the universe would enter into it. And so these are the conditions needed for the holy relationship. And so now by comparison, across the bridge, it's so different. For a time, the body is still seen, but not exclusively as it's seen here. The little spark that holds the great rays within it is also visible, and this spark cannot be limited long to littleness. Once you've crossed the body, the value of the body is so diminished in your sight that you'll see no need at all to magnify it, for you'll realize that the only value the body has is to enable you to bring your brothers to the bridge with you and to be released together there. Paragraph 7. The bridge itself is nothing more than a transition in the perspective of reality. On this side, everything you see is grossly distorted and completely out of perspective. What is little and insignificant is magnified, and what's strong and powerful cut down to littleness. In the transition, there's a period of confusion in which a sense of actual disorientation may occur. But fear not, for it means only that you've been willing to let go your hold on the distorted frame of reference that seemed to hold your world together. This frame of reference is built around the special relationship. Without this illusion, there could be no meaning you would still seek here. I recommend a TED Talk by a woman called Jill Bolte Taylor. I'll include the link in the description. And the TED Talk is about my stroke of insight. So I'll leave that there. I won't talk too much about it, but then she describes this similar phenomena of the self being dissolved through a stroke, where the left side of her hemisphere became disabled. And there are also stories of monks in the mountains who, through their meditation practice, are also able to transcend the physical. And so I'm just sharing, just to expand awareness, to create possibility in your mind. But for now, let's go back to the text. Okay, so paragraph 8. Fear not that you will be abruptly lifted up and hurled into reality. Time is kind. And if you use it on behalf of reality, it will keep gentle pace with you in your transition. The urgency is only in dislodging your mind from its fixed position here. This will not leave you homeless and without a frame of reference. The period of disorientation which precedes the actual transition is far shorter than the time it took to fix your mind so firmly on illusions. Delay will hurt you now more than before, only because you realize it is delay and that escape from pain is really possible. Find hope and comfort rather than despair in this. You could not long find even the illusion of love in any special relationship here. For you are no longer wholly insane, and you would soon recognize the guilt of self-betrayal for what it is. And I like what this is pointing to here, because when we were born, we didn't know ourselves as separate. Our consciousness included it all. We didn't know the difference between baby, the self, and mother's breast. We didn't know the difference between ourself and the poop in our diaper. We didn't know the difference between ourself and the sounds and the experiences and the smells around us, because it hadn't been differentiated yet into the separate parts through our senses. And so again, it's through the physical senses interacting through the body that interacts with the physical world that has us perceiving our reality in a certain way. We can only perceive reality through the apparatus, which is of a like vibration, a like frequency. We experience that which is like ourselves through the physical anatomy. And there is an aspect of us that is more subtle, that precedes the physical. And this is what this is pointing to. And so again, the bridge is just simply a shift in awareness. All right, let's go back to the text. Paragraph 9. Nothing you seek to strengthen in the special relationship is really part of you. And you cannot keep part of the thought system that taught you it was real and understand the thought that knows what you are. So capital T there with the thought, because it's the original thought. And that original thought knows what you are. What you think you are is not the truth of it. Okay, back to the text. You have allowed the thought of your reality to enter your mind, and because you invited it, it will abide with you. Your love for it will not allow you to betray yourself, and you could not enter into a relationship where it could not go with you, for you would not want to be apart from it. Paragraph 10. Be glad you've escaped the mockery of salvation the ego offered you, and look not back with longing on the travesty it made of your relationships. Now no one need suffer, for you have come too far to yield to the illusion of the beauty and the holiness of guilt. Only the wholly insane could look on death and suffering, sickness and despair, and see it thus. What guilt has wrought is ugly, fearful, and very dangerous. See no illusion of truth and beauty there, and be you thankful that there is a place where truth and beauty wait for you. Go on to meet them gladly and learn how much awaits you for the simple willingness to give up nothing, because it is nothing. And I'll just say here that guilt is the fundamental emotional state born out of the belief of separation and the projection of separation onto one another. So now here we are at paragraph 11. The new perspective you'll gain from crossing over will be the understanding of where heaven is. From this side, it seems to be outside and across the bridge. Yet, as you cross to join it, it will join with you and become one with you. And you'll think in glad astonishment that for all this, you gave up nothing. The joy of heaven, which has no limit, is increased with each light that it returns to take its rightful place within it. Wait no longer for the love of God and you, and may the holy instant speed you on the way, as it will surely do, if you but let it come to you. Paragraph 12, last one. The Holy Spirit asks only this little help of you. Whenever your thoughts wander to a special relationship which still attracts you, enter with him into a holy instant, and there let him release you. He needs only your willingness to share his perspective, to give it to you completely, and your willingness need not be complete because his is perfect. It is his task to atone for your unwillingness by his perfect faith, and it is his faith that you share with him there. Out of your recognition of your unwillingness for your release, his perfect willingness is given you. Call upon him, for heaven is at his call, and let him call on heaven for you. All right. And so I just want to say here that with the quantum healing hypnosis work, the crossing the bridge is inherent in that experience. And so I just want to share how it's possible to be a waking, living, loving human being and realize and recognize what it is to cross the bridge, which again is just a shift in perception. And the holy instant, it just simply means perfect presence. And so when we see through the eyes, or we perceive through perfect presence, everything changes without the wantings and the deceptions and the frivolity of what the ego gives us. Okay, so now we're going to go to our lesson for the day. And so we go to the workbook and we are at lesson 5. Okay, lesson 5. And so today I'm going to read it because I think if I pull out my headset, I think the wind's going to be distracting if I play the recording of the narrator. Paragraph 1. This idea, like the preceding one, can be used with any person, situation, or event you think is causing you pain. Apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset, using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate to you. The upset may seem to be fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, or any number of forms, all of which will be perceived as different. This is not true. However, until you learn that form does not matter, each form becomes a proper subject for the exercises for the day. Applying the same idea to each of them separately is the first step in ultimately recognizing they're all the same. Okay, and so what this is pointing to here is that there are no degrees in upset. There is peace and then there's turbulence. And the best analogy would be considering a pond that is very still. Now, you could throw a pebble into the pond and there are small ripples, or you could throw a boulder into the pond and there's a big splash and bigger ripples, even waves. But the point is that there's either stillness or there isn't. And so that's what this lesson is reminding us of. It's recognizing that all disturbances, whether they have the shape, the form of fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, they are actually all the same in that they are a disturbance as opposed to thoughts that bring peace. So when using the idea for today for a specific perceived cause of an upset in any form, use both the name of the form in which you see the upset and the cause which you ascribe to it. For example, I'm not angry at name for the reason I think. I'm not afraid of the thing for the reason I think. For example, I'm not angry at my colleague for the reason I think. I'm not afraid of flying for the reason I think. But again, this should not be substituted for the practice periods in which you first search your mind for sources of upset in which you believe and forms of upset which you think result. In these exercises, more than in the preceding ones, you may find it hard to be indiscriminate, to avoid giving greater weight to some subjects than to others. It might help to proceed the exercises with the statement, there are no small upsets. There are no small upsets. They're all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. Then examine your mind for whatever is distressing you, regardless of how much or how little you think it's doing so. You may also find yourself less willing to apply today's idea to some perceived sources of upset than to others. If this occurs, think first of this. I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. Then search your mind for no more than a minute or so and try to identify a number of different forms of upset that are disturbing you, regardless of the relative importance you may give them. Apply the idea for today to each of them using the name of both the source of the upset as you perceive it, and of the feeling as you experience it. Further examples are, I'm not worried about that project for the reason I think. I'm not depressed about my financial situation for the reason I think. 3 or 4 times during the day is enough. Okay, so first you're searching the mind for sources of upset. Okay, so first we're examining the mind for the source, the perceived source of the upset. You can begin by offering this statement: there are no small upsets. They're all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. As you come up with the individual sources of the upset, you can identify them individually with the feeling state and then what it is. And you may also state, I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then, I'll regard them all as the same. 3 or 4 times during the day is enough. So you can start in the morning, do a practice period. In the afternoon, 1 or 2 practice periods in the afternoon, either side of lunch if you wanted to, later in the morning or later in the afternoon, and then 1 prior to going to bed later in the evening. That's a good way to divide it up. All right, so for our part, we are going to practice. I'm just going to set a timer for 1 minute. And so this is really asking us to create the possibility for having spiritual sight, where we're seeing beyond the physical, beyond the contrast, beyond the paradox, beyond grievances, beyond the guilt, fear, doubt, and worry, into something else, which is our true nature ultimately. Okay, wonderful. So thank you for joining with me in our exploration of the Course in Miracles. And so remember that I'm also offering online classes, online meditation class, as well as an online natural healing self-help class. So go to the website for the calendar and the registration links, www.alilacenter.org. Okay, so I will see you next time. Have a great day.